Dreamworks, are you okay?
We're still on for our tutoring session later, right?
Oh! Anything for my algebra?
You're what now?
I mean, bro! Algebro? Like, you're my brother. You're my math brother.
You know, I think I like the first one better.
Gillman Teenage Kraken is the most recent effort out of Dreamworks Animation Studios and is the first of 3 movies Dreamworks will be putting out this year, with the next few being Trolls Band Together in November, and I'm dreading that movie, and Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget, which releases in December, which I'm actually kind of looking forward to. Now, Disney's been getting its collective ass beat by both Dreamworks and Illumination, both with audience reception and at the box office. Last year alone, Illumination made bank with Minions: The Rise of Gru, and Dreamworks did decently well with The Bad Guys, and made bank with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which was one of the biggest surprise hits of probably the last 20 years. A sequel to a mediocre movie that did okay at the box office comes out of nowhere and becomes one of the most highly praised animated movies of the 21st century. And this year, Illumination released the Super Mario Bros. Movie, which was beloved by audiences and scored over $1 billion at the box office. So, Dreamworks, you naturally assume, would have to continue to step up their game, considering Puss in Boots push Dreamworks back to the forefront, while they had kind of fallen behind Disney in the 2010s, when Disney was getting back in their prime with movies like Tangled, Wreck-It Ralph, Big Hero 6, the Frozen movies, and Dreamworks, while they still made movies that people liked, they kind of fell behind in terms of the box office numbers, and most of the movies they made were pretty forgettable, outside of maybe the How to Train Your Dragon films. So, again, like I said, Dreamworks, you'd think would really need to continue to step up their game. Maybe this movie won't be as good as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but you can see that they're going to put a ton of love and effort into every movie they make to ensure they stay ahead of the competition at Disney. Well, it's not much competition anymore, but you know what I mean. This sucked. Oh. Man, now, is this as bad as Elemental? Maybe. Honestly, probably not, though. But this was an embarrassment for Dreamworks. Now, of course, with the critics, it's of course gonna get good reviews. It got pretty decent reviews. Audience reviews were actually about the same, and usually they're higher. So I think both of them were around the 60 percentile, so that's not terrible. The box office numbers, however, have been atrocious. This is one of the biggest, I would say one of the biggest box office bombs of animation of the 2020s, but honestly, I'm not sure that's true considering this movie only had a budget around $70 million. But movie only made around $35 million at the worldwide box office and went to streaming roughly 2.5 weeks after its theatrical release. It went to streaming quicker than The Flash, and that's definitely not a good sign. So, yeah, like I said, I wasn't anticipating this movie. But I will say that when the first trailer came out, I was giving the movie the benefit of the doubt. Now, did it look good? Not really. But I learned from Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, which just looked like an okay animated movie, ended up being my favorite movie of last year. Or hell, with Netflix, with Troll Hunters: Rise of the Titans, a movie that just looked like an average, decent kids animated action movie, ended up being one of the top 10 movies of that year. So I've learned not to underestimate animated films anymore. Now, if a movie looks bad, it just looks bad. There's nothing I can do about it. Like that Migration movie out of Illumination, that looks awful. They released a trailer for that yesterday, and that looks terrible. So, yeah, but I've learned not to underestimate animated movie just based on if the trailer doesn't look that great. But you know what my biggest problem with this movie is? Virtually nothing happens. This movie is about an hour 31, I think. I think it's one of the shortest movies I've seen of the year. And here's the chronological events of what happened. Ruby wants to go to prom. Mom doesn't let her. She accidentally discovers her Kraken powers. She meets some new girl who eventually is revealed to be a mermaid. She finds her grandmother who teaches her how to use her powers. Her and her new friend Chelsea, who's a mermaid, they take the trident. And Chelsea is revealed to be the villain, obviously. And they fight, and the movie ends. That's the big meat of this movie, and that's not a good thing. Now, another problem I have with this movie is that it was incredibly predictable. As soon as they mentioned the Mermaid Queen, I don't remember her name, but as soon as they mentioned her name, I figured out that it was Chelsea. Because immediately when they said that, I thought back to the Disney movie Sky High. Now, that movie, I don't know if anybody, in any, more modern, that's not the right word, any younger people have seen Sky High, but it was one of my favorite movies as a kid. It's a really decent, superhero film. But the big twist of the villain in that movie is not only that Will's new high school friend is the villain, but she was also the villain from the flashbacks. In that case, the weapon she had, turned her younger again, so essentially she's high school age again, but she's still the same person. Here, it's basically the same thing, except she's just posing as a high schooler. But again, as soon as they mentioned the Mermaid Queen, I don't know how I put it together, but all of a sudden I was thinking back to Sky High, and I'm thinking, okay, it's probably going to be Chelsea. They're saying that she's her daughter, but it's going to be the same thing as Sky High. The hero's gonna think she's her daughter, but it's really her, and that's exactly what happened. And while on the subject of that final fight, that's one of the lamest final battles I've seen since Descendants 2, because the final battle reminded me a lot of the final fight from Descendants 2, and you should not be reminding me of the Descendants movies if you want to be good. Now, is this movie a colossal train wreck? I guess not. I do really like the animation. The colors are vibrant, the designs are pretty neat, and even though the character designs are a little too close to Popeye for some reason, I don't really understand that choice, but whatever, I did like the animation style. And also, there were a couple of entertaining characters. Her Uncle Brill was pretty entertaining. The captain who's trying to hunt Krakens is pretty funny. He got a laugh out of me every once in a while, and he has a lot. And both of those voice actors have a lot of energy to them. I actually like her dad. He's not in the movie much, but he's fine. But my main problem is that Ruby Gillman is annoying. I can't stand her. She's an annoying protagonist, and she's a shitty protagonist. And again, she has the same kind of group. You know what else this reminded me of? Turning Red. She has the same kind of group of friends. They're still annoying modern teenagers, so their dialogue's cringy as shit. Actually, most of the dialogue in this movie is cringy as hell. A lot of the jokes don't land. A lot of the emotional beats of the movie don't land either, because I just can't take any of this seriously. It's one of the same problems I have with the majority of the Flash movie. They want me to take this movie seriously, but I can't when you're making shitty jokes the entire time. It's just those don't gel together. And again, the backstory, something else this reminded me of, was that 2017 Power Rangers movie, where the flashback, or in this case, not really the flashback, the backstory with the battle between the Krakens and the mermaids, that would have been a much better movie. But something I can give this movie credit for is that they didn't pull the same thing the Flash show kept doing, where they appeal to the villain and they decide both of their kingdoms unite and all this other garbage. They do actually just defeat the villain. They do it by destroying the trident, which again was kind of a predictable outcome. But I can give them credit for not doing the safe and just cringy route. I'm like that, but that the appealing to the villain is becoming cringy at this point because the writers don't know how to do it anymore. So I'm glad they didn't go with that route. Although, and I will say, having one of the shittiest people in America and Jane Fonda in your movie is definitely not going to make me like your movie. That's for damn sure. Fuck Jane Fonda. She's a piece of shit, and I hate that I had to listen to her in this movie. And she's annoying as fuck in this movie, which makes sense. So, but again, the thing I had the most problem with is, apart from what I've already gone through, I guess, is the high school trauma is so bad. And I will give it credit that it doesn't take up too much of the movie, but it's the same shit we've seen in so many other movies. It's not interesting. There's nothing new added. It's just painful to sit through. It's not exactly painful, but it's painful to have to sit through it. Because I've seen all this, I know where all of this is going. I don't want to waste 20 minutes sitting through it again after I've already done it so many other times with so many different movies and TV shows in the past 20 years. I'm getting sick of it. I guess that's all I have for this movie. It's not, like, great to talk about. It's not a colossal, flaming train wreck, but I cannot give this movie a recommendation. It's on streaming now. Don't watch it. I'm gonna give Gillman Teenage Kraken a D+. So, that's all I got, and I'll see you next time. Bye.